Big day, guys. We have a bunch of awesome parts to install on the RC8, and I'm really hoping that by the end of this episode, we'll be able to put this thing into gear and take it for its first ride. I can't think of a single thing that could go wrong. All right, so before we get to all the badass companies we work with and the cool parts that we have going on, I want to show you guys, this is our to-do list of this episode. So we still have to extend the dash harness, the USB harness, finalize our wiring, routing, and basically put everything where it needs to go. That's also going to go with the TPS, the tip over sensor, placement, mount, all that stuff for underneath the seat. We're going to wire sheath everything so it looks like it's OEM. We have to do the calipers, lines, masters, as well as the brake fluid and bleed that. We need to do the coolant, convert the fan and the fuel sensor wiring, since basically the sensors might be the same, but the plugs might be different. So we have to go ahead and tackle that as well. We got to do the chain and sprockets so this thing will move under its own power, do the rear sets in the clutch slave cylinder and the shifter so that way we can shift it under its own power. I had to make some changes on the ABS speed sensor mounts, so we'll go ahead and mount the new ones that are up. They should be good. And then last but not least, we'll throw some tires on here to make sure it's nice and safe. Now on to the goodies. This is what I have to throw on the bike. I say throw, but these are actually a lot of nice parts. A lot of these parts, they can definitely get up there in price, and that's why I want to take the time out to give a bunch of companies that support us and have helped us with this build a huge shout out. So pretty much everything on this table is with help from a bunch of these badass companies. These are the Stylema calipers that are off of our Super Duke, but in no order at all. We've got stainless carbon braided brake lines from Moto. We've got chain and sprockets from Superlight and DID Chain. This is through sprocketcenter.com. These are our rear sets from CNC Racing. We have DBK special parts, billet, master cylinders, both clutch and brake side. You guys might also know them as Dukabike. They make parts for a lot more motorcycles than just Ducati, so they've upped their game. Still the same great name and great parts, but now it's DBK special parts instead of Dukabike. We've got the reservoir kits, brake pressure sensor, so we can make the brake lights work on this bike, even though it's kind of like a race setup for it. And then we have the wiring, the connectors, the sheathing, all that stuff we're gonna need to button up the rest of it. Now, before we get started on the bike, you probably look at it and can notice there's a few major things that have been done. That's the radiator, and also it looks like there's a dash on the bike now. So before we go ahead and jump into this and start and we complete our list, I want to play you this clip from work I've already done on the bike and show you just what we did. I got the dash mount prototype on there. I got the radiator on there. So I absolutely love the design of the dash mount. It came out amazing and looks perfect. I got all the angles. This is actually the second one I had to print, but I forgot one very important thing of what makes the third gen Super Duke, and that is the USB mount. I went ahead and made a final production version that has that USB mount in there. You can see a little bit of a messed up print, but it's okay. This is all gonna be SLS for the final parts. Let me swap this over and get the actual final production one on there. Man, I am so excited to finally get these nasty, broken master cylinders off the bike. I hated even showing them in video because I know you guys were probably gonna roast me. Thank you for not roasting me. But it was just seeing this broken road rash parts on this beautiful machine of what it's gonna be was for the record, guys, it was never my intentions of keeping all the parts we could off the Super Duke. A lot of these parts that were damaged, the goal was to always replace them. We were gonna replace them with OEM parts, but instead, I think it's the perfect time for an upgrade. I'll make my life easier and go ahead and remove the tank. I'm tearing the bike down, but I just want to show you guys, this is kind of crazy. You know, it's been a year since I took apart the 3rd gen Super Duke airbox, but like to see this is how far we've come from this is crazy, dude. Like, just to show you like a side profile, look at how big those stacks are and how big that airbox is. And then we've got this little alien here. So what's cool is I'm actually going to be testing my 3rd gen airbox design stacks, that kit with the Rottweiler Performance air filter on the 3rd gen. I think it would be really awesome to kind of, you know, make something work and retrofit it for the RC8, but it would be super cool if it also worked on the 3rd gen. If we make more power, that's like a win-win for the Super Duke owner market as well. Or maybe it sucks and I need to make adjustments and stuff like that. But what's really cool is Theo's gonna let me use this bike to do like testing on as well. So I'm gonna go ahead, pull the rest of the airbox off and get to the wiring harness backbone. All right, guys, we had one little problem. I don't know if you can see in here, but this is basically, it's pre-drilled like for a steering stop. And I actually found the part. They make it and it must be off the track bike. So I went ahead, sprayed this, and I'm going to make my own steering stop because unfortunately I've tried this a few different ways and no matter how the handlebars are angled, it actually hits the dash right here. I know you can't really see it, but if I sell this kit, and especially for my bike, how much money we have into these things, I don't want to damage a $1,300 dash. So I printed 3 different size steering stops. Go ahead and pop them off and see how they fit. So we went from version 1 to final production. Now it's not hitting the dash, and what's nice is this not being in metal, basically it's not metal on the frame, so when the forks actually hit this piece, it's more of a damper instead of like aluminum on aluminum, like a stop. You know, like if you hit this hard enough, metal on metal, it could crack, it could bend it, and this being PA12 carbon fiber, it's like a nice little damper. So we'll go ahead, bolt it up, and then make sure it works. And now we don't have any issues from full lock. I don't know if you guys can see, but not even close to the dash. The left side gets a little closer, but you can see we're not touching. Before I actually kind of nicked the dash right here because the handlebars were hitting. I don't know if you can really see it. It's not really noticeable, but check that off the list. Now I'm gonna finish up the wiring. I have the Super Duke taken apart so I can see where everything goes. You can see I have it labeled, the fan, and then this is the front brake switch that we'll have to wire in. I have one more plug. This guy right here, I need to just find out where that goes on the Super Duke, see what it's plugged into, so I'll have to tear down a little bit more. This is what I was talking about. It's cool, I can actually show you guys. The Super Duke ECU in the backbone of the harness runs left of the engine, and it has all this extra space to put everything up there, and the ABS pump and everything kind of lives outside of the frame. On ours, we're not doing that because we have fairings. So we have to put everything in here, including the ABS pump. So that's why we just want to tidy up all this wiring. I can always prototype a box and like an air vent, like I was saying, for the air intake. That stuff can always come later once we get this buttoned up and we do our first ride. So I'm gonna put it on time lapse. I'm literally going to extend the dash harness, finish all the wiring, sheathe all this stuff, basically get it where it's gonna live on the bike. One slight issue on the dash harness. It's my fault. I'm an idiot. I didn't realize there was two separate colors. There's actually 2 black and yellows and 2 blue and browns. I wish I would have paid attention because now it's kind of guesswork. So you can see I just have them pigtailed, and hopefully we got it right, but if not, we'll swap you know, one or two around if we need to. All right, so I have one of these J connector kits. It's like 1, 2, 3, 4 wire, and it's literally what KTM uses on a lot of these plugs. So I was able to decipher this is the fan, and then the other two are going to be for the front and rear brake light switches, and this is the fan on the RC8. So I'm going to delete this plug and use one of these 2-prong connectors so that it will fit just like factory. I know this episode is crazy and we're kind of bouncing around, but I want to bring you guys up to speed. We have checked off the list of all of the electronics where everything goes. You can see the Super Duke torn down, and we know exactly where everything goes on the bike now. So the only things I have left to wire up are the front and rear brake light switches. Everything else is good. We now have a fuel level sensor, just as if the bike was OEM. I've sheathed this and tidied up all this stuff in the rear and basically got it where it was gonna go. I mounted the tip over sensor. You can't really see it down in there, but it sits flat on the bottom of this battery tray. And what I did is I double-sided Velcroed it underneath here, so that's perfect. This stuff is just kind of loose, so I got some zip ties so I can start doing some wire management, put this where it's gonna go. May not be in the final resting place because we can always prototype parts to make it fit better and have like its own mount. I had the tank on here with the air box off, just so I can make sure that there's no fuel leaks or anything like that for our first ride. That passed with flying colors. There's absolutely no oil leaks, fuel leaks, nothing like that. So I can go ahead, remove the tank, put the air filter back on, wire up the brake light switches front and rear, put some coolant in this thing, and basically I'm gonna go through and torque down every single bolt just to make sure. But then once that's done, we can put the chain and the rear sprocket on there and take it for a little rip. I'm excited, guys. Like, this is about to happen in this episode. For the record, I don't ever recommend you running a bike on a stand. This is very dangerous and shit can happen. I don't recommend this. I'm only doing this because this is a really custom build and we got to make sure everything's good before we go out. So we're in first, neutral. Dude, it is good. As you could see when it was in neutral, it was like it did its free spinning thing when you shifted to first, but I could take my hand and stop the rear wheel, which means it's not dragging. And then when you let out the clutch, it's good. Back to neutral, it slows down. As it freaking should be, man. Killer, dude. Hey, by the way, chain sprockets looking nice and fresh. This is a 1639 setup, which is like what I like running on the Super Duke. So we're gonna try it out on the RC8. A lot of this, we are the test guinea pigs for, so don't at me. But I'm gonna go ahead and top it up on coolant, get the brake light switches done, and then we might be able to putt around. Welcome to Jurassic Park. One thing I do want to point out, so if you look here, this is the rectifier for the Super Duke. I have seen a lot of people that have done like the first and second gen swap. What they end up doing, there's like a little indent right here and they'll end up mounting it there, but I don't want it to be exposed. I really want this thing to look like a factory bike. So the RC8 actually mounts the rectifier here. It fits like this in between the air duct on the inside of the fairing panel. And you can see that the rectifier actually sits right in here on this panel that sits up like that, and the rectifier lives here in this little mount. Guys, you seriously cannot make this spit up, dude. I'm about to open this up for the rectifier and get my wiring all extended, and I'm like, shoot, I still need to put the wireless pad. So if you don't know, like on a Super Duke, just in case, it's key fob, there's no key ignition. So if the battery dies in the key fob, you have this piece that you can basically like take the key and set it through the bodywork and it'll still read it just in case your battery dies. And you won't believe this. See those 3 holes right there? I'm about to cut into this thing and I see these 3 holes and I'm like, dude, there's no way that this could possibly line up. Like there's no way, right? This Super Duke's almost 10 years older. Guys, it lines up. So when this is here, mounted on the radiator, I know it's a weird place, but I can basically take the key fob on the outside of the fairing like this, or on the inside of the fairing right here, and still have all of the key fob features. Dude, that is crazy. What? We have everything buttoned up, but the rectifier. Man, this is close. Yes, I'm sorry guys, I put the taillight on and started testing some stuff, but I'm gonna start putting bodywork on and getting this thing mounted up. One issue is the RC8 seat slides on here and it uses like a bracket like this that the key locks the seat in place and then you unlock it to take off that seat. This is our Super Duke mechanism, but you can see they're both Phillips head. So I'm gonna try to swap this to the Super Duke and see if we can make the seat bracket work. That was almost too easy. Just like a lot of things on this bike, I literally unbolted it, pulled the spring out, and swapped it over to the Super Duke like it was meant to be. Now, one more thing we have to modify. This is basically like the seat mount piece that bolts to those 2 pieces. You can see there's some extra stuff here that we're actually not going to be using, you know, that mechanism. I want to convert everything to Super Duke. So I'm actually just going to cut some of these out to let it sit flat to where this can mount up correctly like that. rectifier is installed. The wireless key fob thing, link, whatever you want to call it, is installed. Dude, you can't tell me that that wasn't meant to be. Like, KTM didn't even design that to be there. Yeah, the rectifier, you know, that's where the RC8 lived anyways, but it's like, dude, this is not from 09 to 2015. This is 2020 plus. Got everything routed and tidied up very nicely. So now, I mean, I'll still have to tuck a little bit of this in and plug the battery back in, but we are looking good, guys. Back it up so you can get a better view. Check her out, dude. So now I'm gonna switch back to time lapse and we can actually start putting the bodywork on. I don't know if you guys seen this in the time lapse, but I went to put on that radiator guard after I put those inner plastic panels on. What a pain in the ass. Definitely install a radiator guard with those plastics off. Another side note, I got the quick release gas cap on the tank. So that way we don't need to use the RC8 key for anything and we can just use the Super Duke key. Also, I want to give a huge shout out to Steve Baker. He really helped me out with this project because he had a full set RC8R bodywork that, you know, he gave me a very reasonable price on for the whole set instead of just replacing the right side, since this bike was laid down on the right. It was cheaper to buy a whole set from somebody instead of just buy those pieces. These parts are very unobtainable and super expensive and hard to get. So big shout out, Steve. Thank you, buddy. Also, to bring up the tank again, you can see the tank has a little bit of damage, a little bit of rash, you know, some stickers coming off, all that stuff. Don't worry, guys. I'm literally assembling this bike for you guys so that we can say we completed it. It'll be road ready, besides the headlights and taillights actually being functional. Everything on this bike will be done and look great, but we still have to wire up the headlights and taillights and basically figure out the CAN bus system from the Super Duke to make it work on the RC8 lights. So we're gonna send the bodywork off to get painted. Don't at me. Guys, can we just take a second and just take this in? Like, we have a freaking 3rd gen Super Duke swapped RC8. Like, I waited for you guys. Oh my gosh. So we do have a couple codes on the dash. The SDR has the 3rd O2 sensor unplugged. I plugged it in. A lot of that stuff fixed itself. So I still think it's good enough to give it a test ride. But one thing I always thought is, like, yes, this bike needs a modern day touch and an update, which now it has with everything from 2020 plus. The Olins, like, this thing's badass, but the aesthetics are just absolutely gorgeous. But I just think, like, we could modernize this. I really think that this bike would look good, like, with some winglets, if only, like, somebody made, like, some cool MotoGP winglets for the RC8. I don't know where we could possibly get those from. So these are MotoGP winglets that I designed for the RC8 off the 2022 RC16 MotoGP bike. So I'm gonna install them on the RC8 and then we'll do a sick ass montage. We did it, guys. We have officially built the world's first 2020 plus Super Duke 1290 swapped RC8R. It came out amazing, man. Like, I absolutely love it. Here's where we have to get into some unfortunate news. This has never been done before, so there's not like a textbook or something I can follow along if I'm having these issues to try this. This is all a new platform pretty much. So on this bike, I had like a sick burnout planned, but unfortunately, as you can hear in that video, it sounds like a two-step where it's hitting 6,000 RPM and it's not revving past it. It's like ba 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 ba. And the reason it's doing that is because on the Super Duke, you have 3 O2 sensors, one on the front bank, one on the rear, and then one on the bottom of the muffler box. On the RC8, which is what our exhaust is, it only has 2 O2 sensors, one for the front bank and one for the rear. So technically right now on our Super Duke harness, we have one O2 sensor unplugged. I did test it that when I plugged the O2 sensor back in, it ran way better and it went past the 6,000 RPM. So no more limp mode, but unfortunately, the O2 sensor doesn't have anything to screw into and plug into. So it's not reading an exhaust, it's just reading like ambient temperature. So in some cases that could actually throw off the air-fuel ratio worse. Right now, because it's thinking it's running lean, it could be running too rich. Really, we don't know. We don't know if it's running too lean. We don't know if it's running too rich. All I know is I have a lot of money and even more hours invested into this project, so I don't want to take a chance blowing up a $6,000 motor. So I ordered the O2 block-off dongle. It's like a dummy plug that goes into that O2 sensor. So it'll read that an O2 sensor is plugged in. It'll basically just be like a 0. So it won't plus or minus the air-fuel ratio based off of that third O2 sensor. So to make it easy, it's not going to even know that it exists. But unfortunately, everything that I had planned to show you guys and take this thing on a first ride, even around the block, I can't do because I can't take a chance on hurting this bike. So I do want to let you guys know that this isn't the way that the bike is going to look. This is going to piss a bunch of you diehard RC8 fans off, but there's a little bit of road rash, a little bit of fixes over the years. Even though the bodywork is in really decent shape for being 15 years old, we are painting this bodywork. I'm sorry, guys. I'm sorry. Hear me out. Hear me out. The bodywork, the tank that has all this damage, everything is not only going to get fixed, but it is going to get custom painted professionally by my good buddy John at Highmark Automotive, and it will be an OEM KTM color. Another spoiler is I have a very sick graphics kit that's made just for this one-of-one bike from Moto Pro Works. I'm sure you've seen their badass Super Dukes and graphics kits that they make. They were awesome enough to be part of the build and send me a custom one-off graphics kit just for this bike to go with the new paint scheme. Also, I don't have a front fender. It didn't come with the kit that I bought from Steve. So there's little kinks that we're gonna have to work out, but we've come this far, guys. Like, we've done it. We've done it. I'm speechless because I've waited so many years for somebody to build this exact bike. A new gen, new model Super Duke RC8R. It hasn't even hit me yet that I'm the one that's built it. So many late nights and sleepless nights and just so much stress over this thing. To actually see it like this and in one piece, like, key fob, no key. Did it, guys. Thank you guys so much for all the support, coming this far with us on this build. I can't even put it into words, just this surreal feeling in life of achieving this accomplishment. I couldn't have done it without you guys, so thank you so much for watching. If you want to see how this thing ends, please stay tuned because we're going to do a big reveal here in Florida. So if you're in the Southeast, local enough, and you want to come see what this bike's going to look like in person when it's all done, then please stay tuned. I will put events out. I don't post everything on YouTube, so follow me on Facebook and Instagram. That way you can stay up to date on it. And when we list those dates for the event, for the unveil, you guys can be a part of it and see the bike in person. So episode 9 will probably be the unveil video. That'll come in a few weeks. And then episode 10 will be the episode that we get to finally rip this beast.